Brandon Williamson rose to the occasion, and the Cincinnati Reds have won 4 games in a row.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, welcome in. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. That guy over there, that's Tim Daniel. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. A little bit later on today's show, we are going to spend some time talking about Andrew Abbott, because right now, everybody, I think, agrees he's the ace of this staff. And these other guys, though, are pushing him. And I'm curious what Tim thinks and what you folks think, the everydayers, about what the effect of that's going to be on Andrew Abbott. That's coming up here in just a little bit. Also, quietly, sneakily, without a lot of fanfare, Elly De La Cruz is back to being Elly De La Cruz. He's off to a really good start. He's shown some power. And if you watch his at-bats, he's not even dialed in yet. We're going to talk about Elly's hot start here in just a few minutes. But where we are going to begin is with Brandon Williamson rising to the occasion. I said yesterday, Tim, on a solo show, that Brandon Williamson really needed to step up, really needed to keep this momentum going and moving things forward for the Reds after what we saw from the pitching staff out in Texas. And Brandon Williamson absolutely crushed it, absolutely delivered. You're talking about 6 2/3, which ties his career long for an appearance in the majors as a starter. In the 6 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. That's it. Shutout baseball, baby.
He was awesome, Steve. And it was really fun to see, considering his last start obviously was quite the struggle, but it also was his first start in over 500 days in the big leagues against the Pirates. So to see him kind of go out there today against the Marlins team, who was 5th in the majors in runs scored so far, was 4th in the majors in batting average, and hold them to nothing, was awesome, because the Marlins have thrived so much so far this year with runners in scoring position, where the Reds have been the polar opposite, obviously. And he did not let people in scoring position. And so that plays a huge part in that. The changeup was excellent. He did whatever he wanted with the changeup. And I think that's the kind of the thing where he's really, I don't know, there's the term they often use where they pitch backwards. And I feel like tonight was kind of a day where he pitched backwards, used his changeup instead of his fastball, and so on and so forth. But just consistently got outs. Defense behind him was incredible. I mean, 10 games to start the year without an error. That's pretty amazing. But he was the guy tonight. And it's so nice to see as they kind of keeps building up the momentum that Rhett and Chase had in the starts in Texas. And Brady.
Cowboy talked about this on the broadcast in the game yesterday, and that is that to set up that changeup, to set up those breaking pitches, Brandon Williamson has to throw that fastball. He has to throw it early and establish it to keep the hitters, off balance, to speed up their eyes, is what Cowboy said. And by the way, I would love for there to be a moment in my life where I could sit down with Cowboy and Chris Welsh at the same time and just talk pitching. I think that would be absolutely amazing. I gotta try and make that happen somehow along the way, because listening to either one of those guys talk about pitching, they're just so smart. But Cowboy did a really good job of dissecting what Brandon Williamson was doing yesterday while he was doing it. And you're right. The changeup was just not fair at times. He was really using it to keep guys off balance. And what I really liked in what I saw from Williamson, Tim, is that it never really looked like at any point in the game that he was struggling, that he was laboring at all. It was just nice, easy deliveries, nice, smooth transitions on the mound. He looked like he didn't miss any time at all. Now, I know the fastball is not quite there yet. I know that's going to come, but you look at his numbers from yesterday, and just, to break it down for you, he threw 93 pitches in this game, pitching into the 7th inning. Of the 93, 59 were for strikes. He stayed around the edges. He didn't groove anything, save for that last one that nearly got out. Talk about missing it by this much. That ball, another inch, is a home run, and it was a tie ball game. But that's not how it broke down. Brandon Williamson gets out of there unscathed. I am really excited for where he's at right now, because I've been a fan of his, Tim. I don't know if you recall when he first came up, but there were a lot of people that were like, oh, he's not ready. He still needs more time in Louisville. And, I was one of those guys that maintained he had learned everything he could learn in the minor leagues. And he just needed to be at the big league level with Derek Johnson and continue to develop. And he did that in spite of what David Bell was doing to him while David Bell was the manager of this ball club. So I am really excited to see Brandon Williamson having this kind of a bounce back. And really, everybody was kind of looking at him right now as the weakest link in this rotation. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because you look at the last 4 starts now with Singer, Louder, Burns, and now Williamson. They have all delivered. The Reds, are you right? Buckle up. I'm not making this up. You can check my math. The Reds have allowed 1 run in the last 3 games.
Yep.
Yeah, I said that. 1 run in the last 3 games. Tremendous pitching, not just from the starters, but from everybody involved over the last 3 days.
I don't know what they did on that off day on Thursday last week before they started the series with the Rangers, but whatever they did, just do it again next time you have an off day, because obviously it worked. There hasn't been a whole lot of hits, but they've been extremely timely. You talked about on the show yesterday, just like, yeah, they're not getting the offense we all suspect they will just yet, but when they are getting hits, they're making them count. And I fully agree. The offense, when it's going to get humming, I don't think it's a thing that the offense will get humming and the pitching will fall apart by any stretch. I think it's going to be a group effort. That's not what we're talking about. We talk about the next segment, but I just had to go ahead and go on my spiel there because my brain works faster than my mouth sometimes. But yes, what they're getting from the pitching staff right now is great. So I thought it was great today. Steve, you mentioned Terry Francona leaves him in to go through the 7th, and he almost gets out of the 7th. Brock Burke throws the last 3 outs yesterday in Texas and gets the last out in the 7th today. Tony Santillan is looking like he's getting back to the old Tony Santillan ways. And the thing about Emilio Pagán I've really noticed from, obviously it's such a young season, it's so early, when he had those bad games in GABP when he was giving up everything. And then these last couple outings, I know he had a little bit of a rough one in Texas there. It doesn't feel like he's going for strikeouts anymore. I feel like it's just kind of like a trust the defense behind you kind of thing. And I think the numbers kind of show that he hasn't had a lot of strikeouts. It's been a lot of ground outs and a lot of ground balls. One of the Texas games he got a save, ended on a double play to Elly. I feel like he's just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to get outs any way I possibly can, because he's, we all know he's got a capability to get the long ball up very well. And so I think he's just really doing what he can to dance out of that.
Once again, Cowboy on the TV broadcast yesterday made some great points about both Santillan and Emilio Pagán, talking about, and I had kind of failed to factor this in when I was talking about these guys over the last several games. And that's that the Reds made a conscious decision to spin them up slowly based on the amount of work they did in 2025. And that right now they're pitching with about a 2-week delay, and that their velocity is not quite there. And what Cowboy was saying was that if you watch how they're both pitching right now, they're living around the edges, they're living on the fringes. And as their velocity starts to tick up, they're still going to be able to live on those fringes, but they're going to be nearly impossible to hit. And I think he's absolutely right. We're starting to see Santillan's velocity tick up. He's up a mile per hour or 2 already. I think Pagán's coming along right behind him. Those 2 guys are going to be a pretty deadly 1-2 punch in the back end of this bullpen. And you bring up Brock Burke. I want to tell you, this guy's growing on me. I love seeing him get his first save of his career. I threw this stat out there, 0 for 13 in save opportunities before that last game in Texas. That was his first big league save. Right back at it again yesterday, out in Miami, a big out there to get out of the 7th inning, gets the strikeout. Love what we're seeing from Brock Burke.
Me too, man. It just feels like with what they're not able to have from Caleb Ferguson right now with his injury, he's done such a great job filling that role, and things will get easier for him, obviously, when Ferguson's back. And I feel like when Ferguson's back, it just means everything's just going to kind of go into place with the bullpen. Like you kind of talked about just now, Santillan and Pagán are a little behind from where they should be, and that's okay. Because they're delivering, they're getting outs, they're helping the team win right now in this win streak. So when they get Ferguson back to kind of mix in with Santillan, depending what his role is going to be, I feel like he could be like the Sean Marshall, the Jonathan Broxton, if we look at the 2012 team kind of thing. Much better pitcher than Sean Marshall, obviously, but I feel like that's what they could potentially get from him. So it feels like it's like
Sean Marshall on their bingo card today.
Yeah,
there you go. Courtesy of Tim Daniel.
That's what I do. But yeah, I just think it's only a matter of time before we just see those guys click into gear. And when they do, I would be scared to play this team.
100% agree. Listen, Tim teased it. He wants to talk about the hitters. I want to talk about the hitters, and we're going to talk about EDLC and his hot start coming up next. The NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. Here's what I like about it. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, the extra insight really matters when you're looking at the stars, role players, and key moments. It just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com right now to get started. Again, you're going to $5 bet wins. You get $250 in bonus bets back. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. FanDuel, play your game. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day, and for all of your help in making Locked On the #1 sports podcasting network in all the land. You already live this team every single day. You're an everydayer. Elevate your game. Go ad-free. The Locked On Everydayer Club gets you ad-free Locked On Reds over on the audio side. Head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer to get started. $5 a month, $50 a year. I think the promo code is still working through the end of this month. Promo code finally gets you a free month of the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. It also is going to get you access to the Discord server, where not only me and Tim and Jeff are talking Reds baseball on the Discord server, but every host of every show across the entire Locked On network is in the Discord talking ball. It's definitely worth the $5 a month. Go check that out today. All right, Tim, we talked about this in show prep. We've been talking about it for a couple days now. Elly De La Cruz is kind of quietly, kind of not very flashy, but also he's back to being Elly. You're starting to see things. And his at-bats, if you look at how he's hitting the ball, he's not even completely dialed in yet, but he's hitting for some pop. He's hitting for some power, but he's doing something we haven't really seen him do a whole lot of, and that is take the ball the other way when the opportunity presents itself.
So you and I are obviously both good friends with one, John Sadek, a guy we both very much enjoy and appreciate talking anytime with, not just baseball, but life. And the thing he always says about Elly De La Cruz is that when he's locked in was when he starts drawing walks. He hasn't started drawing walks yet, Steve, and he's hitting. And it's amazing to see. So obviously 3 home runs at this point in the year. And you just mentioned hitting the ball the opposite way, OPS over 800. And on the other side, not trying to do too much defensively, just letting the ball come to him and making a play. He's had a couple that bounced by him so far. They weren't errors. They were just hard hit balls. And he had that one tonight, man.
He fielded a ground ball in yesterday's game looking like Barry Larkin. He got down on the ball. It was in front of him. I was like, who is this guy? He can't. And the moral of the story is it can be done.
He watched his Tom Amansky videos in the offseason. But all jokes aside, it's just nice to see. And the speed's obviously back. I like Savant right now has been the 85th percentile. That's obviously going to tick up as the season goes on. But yeah, you mentioned it. So exit velocity is in the 93 percentile. Barrel is in the 78th percentile. Hard hit in the 81 percentile. Bat speed in the 81 percentile. And like I just mentioned, only in the 37th percentile in walks. He's not walking yet. When you guys keep putting walks back in there too, watch out, because when he walks and Sal Stewart comes up to the bat right behind him, this is a team that is going to get scarier and scarier as this offense gets better and better.
His numbers on the season are a respectable 268, 318, 830 for a slash line, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs. Let's drill down a little bit on that more, Tim. In the last week, the last 7 games, Elly De La Cruz, 310, 333, 552, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs. He's only just now turned it on.
And 1 steal,
and has the 1 steal. So he's only just now turned it on. I think we're looking for a fun month or so of baseball as Elly gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and the rest of the team heats up alongside him.
Aren't you just glad that going back to our shows last year when we were having these conversations and we just had to talk about the fact that he's struggling. He's got to be hurt. He needs a day off. Those sentences have not come out of our mouth yet. We haven't had people telling us every day now that like he needs to be in center field. We haven't had to have that conversation. We've just been able to enjoy Elly De La Cruz play baseball and like look really good. And what we saw in spring training is carrying over to the start of the season. And it's been a blast. Like, yeah, he's had his strikeout games. He's obviously strikeouts will always be a part of Elly De La Cruz. If you're focusing strictly on strikeouts, you're missing the point of Elly De La Cruz, because guess what? Mike Trout in his prime strikes out. Aaron Judge strikes out, specifically in the World Baseball Classic. It's just kind of is what it is. And if that's the sole thing you're going to focus on and complain about, then you're missing how good of a baseball player we really have here playing shortstop for this team.
So I want to go the other direction with this, because you said something while we were getting ready to start recording that piqued my interest. And it's funny because in yesterday's solo show, I basically called for the benching of Ke'Bryan Hayes. I'm ready to sit him down. I'm ready to start a rotation amongst the three positions of first base, DH, and third base, utilizing Sal Stewart, Eugenio Suarez, Nate Lowe, and Spencer Steer. I'm ready to rotate all of those guys through there and improve the lineup by having Ke'Bryan Hayes never hold a baseball bat ever again. You have a little bit different thought on this, and I would like for you to share it and then let me torpedo it.
Oh, man, believe me, I know what I'm about to say here. And I know that people are probably going to be like, there's typical Tim action there. And this is why I don't watch the postcast. I've seen that many of times. I get it. I'm not confusing Ke'Bryan Hayes for Adrian Beltre. I just want to make sure we get that out as I say these things, Steve. But right now, Ke'Bryan Hayes, again, he's missed 2 games. 100th percentile in whiff, in strikeouts, 82nd percentile in chase, and 78th percentile in average exit velocity. What this means, Stephen Offenbaker, is Ke'Bryan Hayes is not striking out. He currently has a BABIP of 154. So, yes, you say you want to bench him, and I don't have an issue if he gets benched just becomes a defensive replacement. A very expensive defensive replacement, for sure. He's the best defensive third baseman in baseball. There's no arguing that at this point. But what I am saying is obviously he doesn't make hard contact a whole lot. And obviously he's not a guy who's going to get a lot of barrels. He's putting the ball in play. So eventually those balls are going to fall for hits. Right?
Are they? Are they really?
I mean, maybe, like I'm just saying, like, so he's not as bad as he's been.
The fact of the matter is, I think we know who Ke'Bryan Hayes is already.
For sure. I'm not, like I said, he's not going to go hit 30 home runs.
That's correct. And, Ke'Bryan Hayes, in last season, both stops combined 235, 290, 306. Season before that, 233, 283, 290. Season before that was a big breakout year. He wins a Gold Glove and hit 271, 309, 453. That's his outlier.
That is the outlier.
That season is his outlier.
It's the
next 3 years, those next 3 years are, I think, who he really is. And you have to decide, and not you, Tim, but, people in general, the front office, Nick Craw, Terry Francona have to decide if that defense at third base is so good and so worth having out there for 8 innings until you have to pinch hit for him if you're in crunch time. Is it so good to have out there for 8 innings you're willing to keep in your lineup, 130, 200, 130, which, by the way, that's his stats before yesterday's game. Hasn't updated yet, but that's bad. I don't know if you knew that or not, but 130, 200, 130 is bad.
But a 159 BABIP, so it's not like it's like, it's definitely showing unluckiness. Like,
I don't think the BABIP really impacts that much, because I think we know who he is.
I agree with you.
If he was more like 2023 Ke'Bryan Hayes and he was having these kind of numbers, I would be like, patience, grasshopper. The defense is great. He can clearly hit a little bit. It will come around. I don't think I can make that argument, but what I can argue is rotating those other 4 guys through those 3 positions and getting better offensive results. Right now, the pitching staff has been magnificent, and the Reds have been getting timely hitting. A lot of that driven by 2 guys, Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart. Other guys are starting to show signs. Matt McLain has shown flashes. He's not quite there yet, but I think he will get there. TJ Friedl is working on trying to figure it out a little bit. And I think the closer we get to a true platoon between him and Dane Myers, the better that leadoff spot gets for this team. So there is hope coming that this team is going to score more runs than they've been scoring. But they've been getting by with great pitching and timely hitting. And I just want to take the easiest of the easy outs out of the lineup, which is Ke'Bryan Hayes. And I want to get those other guys more opportunities. And if it lands in a spot where by doing that, you create opportunities to have an outfield that is, versus right-handed pitching of TJ Friedel in center, Will Benson in right, and Noelvi Marte in left, or vice versa. You can swap those two guys, whichever you want to do. Now you're getting somewhere because Noelvi Marte has the reverse splits against right-handed hitters, and I want to see him in multiple days in a row and see if he can start stringing something together and find out if the Reds really have something or not. What I do know is that over 150 games, Noelvi Marte has a better opportunity to hit for you than Ke'Bryan Hayes does. So I would rather see him in the lineup. I would rather see the other guys rotating through. I think there's an opportunity here to manufacture more offense. And yeah, is it an expensive defensive replacement? It's a really expensive defensive replacement, but I think they should try it.
Okay, here's the thing. Like I said, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that numbers don't lie. And numbers don't lie for bad, and numbers don't lie for good. So right now, he is putting the ball in play. Notice I use the words right now. I'm not saying this is going to be all year. I'm not saying he's going to be like I said, I'm not saying he's Adrian Beltre. I'm not even saying he's Brandon Larson.
Ooh.
Okay, he's actually probably.
Oh, you're just name dropping today. The bingo card is filling up. Yeah. This is what I know. Everybody's not 100% right now. Players are going to get better. There's going to be slumps, but right now the pitching staff is phenomenal, which we said it would be. And the Reds are doing things they haven't done before, which is hitting timely when they need to. The Cincinnati Reds staff has been amazing, and I wonder how it's going to push Andrew Abbott to be even better as the Reds ace. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Hey, this is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds, and when it comes to our futures, we all have great ideas when it comes to our job, when it comes to our house, when it comes to our vehicles, all that great stuff. But honestly, when it comes to securing that future, I don't know what I don't know. And when me and my wife sat down to figure out the life insurance thing, Ethos made everything simple. Everything's online, you have a quick and easy application process, and you find out exactly what you need for coverage all in one spot. Ethos makes everything so convenient when it comes to learning about your own life insurance, because insurance is something that is far beyond batting average or on-base percentage. It's way out in left field for me. Ethos made it all easy. Take just 10 minutes and get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times may vary and rates may vary.
All right, Tim Daniel. We're going to dive right back into this. Folks, if you're an everydayer, click the subscribe button, click that notification bell. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, we're in every single podcast app that's out there. If you find one we're not on and you need us to be there, send Jeff a message. When he gets back, he'll probably be able to make it happen for you. Let's talk Andrew Abbott, Tim, because I'm curious what happens next, because what we know about this group of starting pitchers is they very much have a next man up mentality, and they very much have a anything you can do, I can do better mentality, and not in a bad way. I think this is very healthy amongst these starting pitchers, all trying to one up, all trying to have a better start than the guy did the day before. But that means Andrew Abbott has to go out and throw a perfect game, because this pitching staff has been amazing for multiple days in a row. And Andrew Abbott, his start has not been bad, Tim. He's got 2 starts under his belt already in this young season, 11 2/3 innings. His strikeout per 9 hasn't quite gotten fired up yet. It's at 6.9. His walk rate's a little bit higher than I want to see it at 3.1 walks per 9, but he's been good. And he's been the Andrew Abbott that we know he can be, but I think he has more to give. And I'm really curious to see how he goes out against this Miami Marlins team that's not a world beater. They're above 500 right now. They have a winning record early here in the season, but I'm really curious to see how Andrew Abbott responds and what that looks like in him, because that guy's a competitor. And I really think he's going to go out there and try to one up what everybody else has done over the last turn through the rotation.
So a couple of things I want to get to here, and I mentioned this in my article where we're covering this, previewing the series on Reds Talk SI, just talking about the different ins and outs of the matchup. One, the first thing that jumps out is when you look at who is on the other side of the mound. It's Sandy Alcantara, who right now has the only complete game shutout in baseball this season. So it was the White Sox. But when you look at the Marlins' current roster against Andrew Abbott, only two guys have an OPS over 750, and that is catcher Augustin Ramirez and second baseman Otto Lopez, who has a 900, but they're also in 5 to 6 plate appearances. It's not much. So he has that benefit. Their best players, like Xavier Edwards, cannot hit Andrew Abbott. He's got a 583 OPS in his career against him. So this matchup is favorable to Abbott, but it looks like it's going to be another pitcher's duel because of who is on the other mound for them. And though the Reds have hit him fairly well, so this could be a benefit to Abbott to kind of get a little extra innings as well. He has a situation where he wants to back up from a so-so start against the Pirates, where he really just had one bad inning and really settled in. We obviously know what he did opening day against the Red Sox. It's his first road start. It's at a bigger ballpark. He's been better at home than he has been on the road throughout his career, which is really surprising for a pitcher that pitches at Great American. But I suspect he's going to build off of it, man. I suspect he's going to be much better. I'm feeling it's going to be another quality start. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep the one or less runs going from the starting rotation that's been going of late, but I fully suspect he's going to be really good in this game.
One of the things I was saying yesterday was that I really missed these big winning streaks. I feel like the Reds never really they got close a bunch of times in 2025 where you felt like, oh, they're about to crack one off and go on a big 7, 8, 9, 10 game winning streak. This is where they're going to do it. And they could just never really get it going. I really feel like this Miami series is a spot here early in April where they can do that and they can rip off 7 wins in a row and be kind of on their way in this National League Central. And it starts with Andrew Abbott pitching, obviously, today, getting it done, and this bullpen continuing to do what they've been doing. I feel like probably Santillan and Pagán are both available today, I would think. They pitched 2 back-to-back days in Texas, had a day off, and then pitched yesterday. So I think they would both be available today and then need to be off tomorrow. So I would like for the Reds to keep stringing up those zeros, keep holding I'm fine with low-scoring games. This has been kind of fun old-school baseball over the last several days. These 2-1 games, 2-0 games, pitchers' duels, hanging on every pitch, hanging on every deep fly ball to see if this is going to turn the course of the game. That's been fun, and it's been a while since, as a Reds fan, we've been on the winning side of that. We've been on that losing side a lot of that. But it really, I feel good watching this team right now and feel like for the rest of this series, they have an opportunity to win every one of these games down in Miami.
Yeah, I do too. And I feel like it's going to kind of come through. I think they're a better team than the Marlins. I think the Marlins are better, but they're still the Marlins. They still have a lot of young talent who's still learning to be pros, where the young Reds talent has been in the big leagues at the least 2.5, 3 seasons now. So I feel like that's going to play a difference. I feel really confident the Reds can kind of go in there and take care of business and come home ready for the Angels.
Where are you at on Connor Phillips? Jeff and I talked about this before he went on vacation, and I think he's a little higher on Connor Phillips right now than I am. I'm waiting for Connor Phillips to show consistency in his command and control, and I just don't feel like I can trust him. When he's out there his stuff is on, he's really, really good, but just never quite sure where the ball's going to go, and it worries me a little bit.
It's like the scene in Major League in spring training when Ricky Vaughn's throwing in the guys like the fake batters in the box, and it's just like has holes all over them.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, I get you. I'm probably in the middle. I said on the postcast one episode that I could see a road where he ends up being the best reliever the Reds have, but also he's got to figure out to put the ball across the plate, and throwing strikes is kind of the idea of a pitcher, and he has a tendency to not do that, or he has a tendency to make innings really hard on himself. So you look at that game Sunday against Texas, he 28 pitches in that inning. Mm-hmm. So he really kind of needs to get that down under control. And I think a perfect person to look at is right next to him in the bullpen. Graham Ashcraft so far has shown like what it's like when you can kind of get your pitch count under control and how good you can be, especially as a right-handed reliever. So if I'm him, I'm watching everything Graham's doing because Graham has really figured out so far. Again, I'm emphasizing we're 10 games in, how to just be efficient with his pitches and get outs.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Graham Ashcraft, and I was really excited when they moved him to the bullpen. I had an eye on him as an eventual closer for this team, and he hasn't quite realized that potential yet, but it's there. His stuff is there. I really like this role that the Reds are using Graham Ashcraft in right now, which is fireman extraordinaire, no matter what point of the game you're at. If it's the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, we don't care. If there's a fire, we're going to Graham Ashcraft. I really like that role for him because I really think he has the mentality for it.
I do too. I think he likes that situation of being the guy to get the most important 3 outs. And it feels like he really thrives in that situation. So far, he's been really good at it.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked on Reds. Catch Tim Daniel later on tonight on the Reds postcast. He goes live after each and every Reds game. Yes, that's right, folks. All 162. Tim Daniel live every night. I can't wait for the West Coast trips, buddy. I know you love those so much. Make sure you are subscribed so you get all of that content. Jeff's going to be back next week. We're going to start stepping up some extra shows for you guys. There'll be lots of stuff in this feed, so make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss any of it. For the folks listening on the audio side, go check out Locked on MLB. Sully's got you covered from Major League Baseball from a national perspective. Also, former Reds reliever Mike Stanton's over there with his show talking about baseball from a player's perspective. And of course, there's Locked on MLB Game Night, where they're watching every single game, every single night, along with the experts of the Locked on Network, so that you don't have to spend 12 hours a day watching baseball unless, of course, you just want to. We're going to keep gathering up all of the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, the information. We're going to bring it all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.